good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is Augie of the Blago Blabber podcast. I'd like to welcome everyone to yet another show. Figure I get caught up on some of my football stuff while the international break is underway. So for the next 2 weeks or so, the best players, go back to their countries and, fight for the World Cup of Qatar. Canada back in action against Mexico. Figure I mentioned Canada since I am living in Canada. Serbia has 2 matches, and they're going to need probably both wins to have any chance of progressing directly. And if they don't progress directly, then they're going to have to go through a playoff, which is a whole different format now because of the Nations League or whatever it's called, where some teams get an upper hand over others if they won or whatever the case may have been. But I'm not really here to talk about national teams. I'm here to talk about what's been going on with Red Star Belgrade. For those who follow my YouTube channels, you know that I do previews of matches and then the recaps after. I'm kind of on the fence about still doing the previews. I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to do the recaps. Depending on what the numbers are like in terms of views and things like that, I'm gonna kind of see in the next game or two what the numbers are like, and then I'm either gonna do both, or I'm just gonna do the recaps. I think the recaps do a little bit better than the previews, to be fair. So maybe I'll just get rid of the previews altogether. I mean, again, I'll see what the numbers are like. I love doing both, but it's not very time consuming. At least not for me. I don't really practice any other stuff. I just go out, record the stuff, one shoot, no editing, and however it turns out, that's how it turns out. For Red Star Belgrade, the Europa League started. 2 wins from 2 matches, 6 points. Outstanding start. I think if you gave us 4 points from the first 2 matches, I think most fans would have taken that, considering that we faced Braga, who's a very good team. Portuguese team, and Ludogorets, who's from Bulgaria. They actually just fired their coach sacked their coach right after they lost to Red Star. Literally, I think the day after that, they let go of their head coach. So they're gonna have someone new at the helm next time Red Star plays them, which is, I don't know, with the timelines now, probably in a month and a half, or something like that. I think Ludogorets currently sits second in the Bulgarian. They might actually be first, but they have like 2 or 3 games in hand, so the margin of points is going to be even larger once they play those games. And the Bulgarian league is getting a lot better now with the CSK Sofia and Ludogorets there. If you watch my previews, I mentioned that Ludogorets almost finished second last season, which would have been the first time, I believe, in 10 years that they finished out, not winning it, I guess. They have 10 titles in a row. So, I mean, no matter what country you're playing, that's very, very impressive. Winning 10 titles isn't easy. Winning back-to-back is pretty hard, let alone 10 in a row, which is great for them. They have stability in the club. They pay some hefty fees for some of their players. And they bring in players from some big European clubs. Their best signing is from Cagliari, so, Serie A is nothing to sneeze at. They have a bunch of players who played for some French teams, just making 2 or 3 kind of appearances for the French teams, and then Ludogorets ended up purchasing them. But the Braga match was interesting because it was a fairly boring match for probably the first 74, 75 minutes. Rodic scores off a header, Kanga corner kick, and then literally a minute later, or half a minute later, Braga scores to make it 1-1, and I'm like, oh god, this would have been really nice to have this win, but it looks like it might not happen. And then in the 82nd, 83rd minute, Kate scores from a penalty kick, which was debatable at best. I'm a straight shooter when it comes to penalties. Debatable, but again, there's VAR technology. VAR said it was a penalty. Outstanding to get the 3 points from that match, because I think that's a kind of match that a lot of people looked at and said, even if we could get that 1 point, it would be very good against a really good side. And in my YouTube video, I actually said, if you want to play Braga, you would want to play them first. Because last year, Red Star played Hoffenheim first. They lost. I think it was 2-0 in that match. But it kind of, once you get that team out of the way that's kind of favored to win the group, I don't want to say it becomes easier, but you have kind of almost like a measuring stick to see how good you really are and if you can compete with that team. And I think with the Hoffenheim match, the interesting thing about it was, it feels like this was 3 years ago, not a year ago. Red Star had a number of players out, and we competed very well. Something that I haven't really seen. I can't say I haven't seen because Red Star has been in Champions League and Europa League, but more of I would say more of attacking, not even formation, but philosophy, and that's thanks to Dejan Stankovic and his entire crew of assistant coaches and statistics guys or whatever. And it kind of set a precedent for the rest of the group, saying, you know what, we gave Hoffenheim a run, who's supposed to run away with the group. What makes the other teams that we're playing here any different? And that's exactly what happened. We finished second in the group. We go on and we lose to Milan, and that was on away goals. So excellent season last year in Europe, I would say. And this year, the same thing is continuing. And like I said, getting those 3 points against Braga was outstanding for us. Sonogo, for me, was the man of the match. I thought he was the man of the match, to tell you the truth, in both of the games played thus far. I think what Braga did is exactly what teams have been doing to Red Star, forcing players who aren't used to making plays, forcing them to make plays. A number of years back, I think it was Napoli, that kind of sat back and they man-marked every guy on Red Star who was a threat going forward, and they said, you know what, we're going to make Njegos Petrovic beat us with his playmaking. And Njegos couldn't do that because, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the ability to do that, but at that time he couldn't, because Red Star going forward had never depended on him to kind of make those plays, to kind of link up with the center forwards, because Napoli just completely took, I don't even know who's on that team. That was, I guess, Marco Marin. They completely took him out of the game and said, we're going to make everyone else beat us but him. I think it was Marco Marin. Don't hold me to that. And, in Belgrade it ended up being a 0-0 draw, but still, they kind of showed you what the best teams in the world kind of do to you. They shut down your best players and they make you beat with someone else. So I think that's what Braga tried to do with Ivanic, Katay, and Kanga pretty much. And I thought Sonogo handled that beautifully. Again, like I said, man of the match, huge 3 points. Ludogorets' match was a little bit different because Degenek and Dragovic were both out. We're our two, center back. Those are the 2 center backs that we pretty much play every match now. And Katay, our main distributor, main goal scorer, assist guy, whatever you want to call it, he was also out. And so was, and I'm forgetting someone. Oh, Milan Borjan, number 1 goalkeeper. So those are 4 guys that are pretty much irreplaceable. Like, Milan Borjan is the captain. Irakovic now is I guess the alternate captain, but Katay was captain. If Milan Borjan and Katay aren't in the lineup, then you can honestly have a shout for either Dragovic or Degenek being captain. So that's to kind of show you. It's almost like Red Star had 4 captains out. And we weathered the storm. I thought Stankovic put together a really good plan. He won the battle in midfield, which was very important. Starting Srnic kind of caught me off guard, even though he shouldn't have. Srnic has started some matches, big matches for Stankovic. This season, he started the one against Sheriff away, the second leg. Nothing that happened there was pretty much his fault, but he's a player that Stankovic kind of depends on as a joker, as they say, as like a guy out of nowhere, 12th man, whatever you want to call it. Who could kind of make a difference off the bench. I thought he played really well. Played the entire match, if I'm not mistaken, actually, for a guy that I thought was going to play maybe a half just to see how it's kind of going to go for him and then sub him off. He played the full match, and I thought he was really good. Sonogo, again, he dropped back a lot, and he almost played like a third center back with Irakovic and Pankov. And credit to our guys. They really came out. They understood how big the match is. And 6 points from 2 matches would have been really good, and that's exactly what we got. and it's nothing less than what we deserved. Thought we played really good. Kanga's goal was exceptional. I think that we could have scored 3 or 4. Ben missed kind of 2 sitters, which at the time I prayed wouldn't come back to kind of bite us in the butt, but thankfully didn't. And Ludogorets isn't that bad of a team. I just wasn't. I thought that they would show more. And to be fair, they had 3 or 4 guys who were out as well, due to Corona, and I think they had various other injuries as well. But that match, you easily could have said, you could easily say that Kanga was player of the match just because of the goal that he scored, and his distribution was excellent and on point. But Sonogo playing in more of a position that he hadn't really played for Red Star. I think that was the first time he played kind of center back. And the one thing that I noticed is, and I said in my recap of the match, Red Star usually doesn't have that CDM that kind of drops in between the two center backs who takes the ball and then kind of distributes it. We just kind of, we just kind of work it around, and we usually go to kind of like the right backs or the left backs, and we kind of let them dictate the play. Even though Dragovic and Degenek, especially Dragovic, he's exceptional with his distribution. There's a bunch of times where Dragovic can kind of just take the ball, and he could be 2 or 3 guys, and then he's in an offensive end, and then he's kind of looking to create, which is something great that you can kind of have. A lot of teams in the Big 5 leagues don't have that, yet we have that in the Serbian league, and Red Star has that in the Europa League. So that's a big plus too. It's just you got to be mindful, covering for those players when those center backs when they do push up, that someone like Sonogo or Kanga does come back and they fill in that role as center back. And I thought one thing I'll mention about Srnić as well is his role was kind of to help out wherever we needed help. So whether that was a right back, he would they would almost double up on that right flank or the left flank, and that's something that actually used to happen a lot with Milic was here. When Milic was here, so Milic would kind of double up with either Filip Stojkovic or Milan Rodic. So Milic was the, I guess he was the right midfielder at that time. He could also play left midfielder and striker as well. But his defensive duties, like he was almost better defending than he was attacking. Actually, attacking, he was really poor. I don't know if he scored like 6 or 7 goals in 2 seasons for Red Star. But his defensive effort and getting back and realizing how important that part of the game is kind of like, it's almost like he's rubbed off on Srnić in that aspect. And you always need players like that. So wherever Red Star needed help, that's kind of where Srnić was. Whether it was left back, right back, CDM, right midfield, like anywhere. He was literally all over the place. Like, I literally don't think that he had a position. I really do think that Stankovic told him, hey, listen, wherever you think that you're needed, go there and do the job there. But like I said, having 4 players out due to COVID restrictions or whatever you want to call it, and getting that win was huge. 6 points after 2 matches. It's a dream start. You're going away to Midtjylland next. And then after Midtjylland, you have 2 home games versus Midtjylland and Ludogorets. And then you go away to Braga. And hopefully that last match, everything's kind of solidified and we're through. And, we don't have to kind of worry about the result. Next match for Braga is Ludogorets. And that's going to be, I think that's going to be a very tough match because Ludogorets is going to have a new manager. I assume that all the players are going to be healthy and ready to go. So we're probably going to see a different Ludogorets team than what Red Star saw in Bulgaria. Obviously, Ludogorets ended up with 10 men that match. The second yellow on Cecinho, it was interesting. I needed to see more replays. I don't know. It feels like the cameraman caught up to after the action had happened, but Pavko was pretty much holding his head. So, meaning that was maybe there's some kind of hit there or whatever the case may have been. But another worrisome thing for me is the striker output. So once Pavkov isn't there, Diony doesn't do a very good job of scoring goals. He doesn't score almost at all. He scored last week against Novi Pazar, and he had an assist as well. I thought, maybe that would kind of push him forward a little bit. Wasn't that great against Ludogorets. So Diony does a lot of stuff that kind of Falcinelli did last season off the ball, where he's good at protecting the ball. He's good at the link-up play, waiting for his, midfielders to kind of catch up and distribute the ball to them and wait for them to create. But like, you're a center forward, at at the end of the day, you need to score goals. Like, this is why you're brought in here. Now, Diony is only on loan here. He could be gone, I believe, in January. Would be interesting to see what happens there. I'm not even going to say I don't think. His contract isn't going to be bought by Red Star, so he is going to go back to Angers, whether that's in January or if they extend him until June. I don't think that they're going to bring him back. I just don't think that the output has been there, kind of like Falcinelli, as I mentioned. The output of goals just isn't there, and in a center forward, you need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, and we've kind of had that issue since Richmond, Boachi, and or Persic have left the club, which has been like 2 or 3 seasons now, where our center forwards just don't seem to score, and we depend on almost all of our goals coming from that midfield area. So Ivanic, Kanga, Ben, Katai, center backs, I think, Milunovic last season did a lot of scoring as well, off headers, set pieces, corner kicks, free kicks, whatever the case may have been. So he covered some of those holes as well. But this year it's just not happening for us off set pieces. We have scored some, just not at the level that we did last year. I think we had 30 plus goals from set pieces last season. And yeah, like I said, we sold Nikola Kristovic. I guess we weren't happy with his development. He's someone who needed, like 4 or 5 chances to score that one goal. Again, really good at hold-up play, strong boy, but, at some point, your conversion rate needs to be better, and I think that's kind of where Red Star maybe lost their patience with him. I actually do follow him a little bit now, and he had a goal and assist this past match day, and I think they won 4-2, so he plays in Slovakia. Dunjac Streda, I believe, is the name of the team. So it's good that he's finally getting playing time. And I did a piece, on YouTube talking about his departure. And, I'm not saying that he's going to need 4 or 5 chances to score a goal, throughout his career, but that's something that he really needs to work on. Because if he can nail that part of his game, he's not the fastest player, but again, he really knows how to protect the ball. Link up play is pretty good. And he can take on defenders. So if that part of his game, can get better, he can have a really long career. And again, I'm not saying he's going to play in the big 5 leagues, but he's going to be able to make some really good money if he can really get that part down. Ryszard Živković, we still don't really know what we have with him. Hasn't played too much. He's been sick a little bit. I think he contracted coronavirus as well, so he wasn't there for the match against Metalec, which was on Sunday. We were actually missing even more players against Metalec. So it was the 4 that I mentioned, then it was Živković. Diony wasn't even in the team. Pankov wasn't in the team, so it was a really makeshift back 5, if you want to call it. Ferakovic, Gobelic, and Sonogo. Again, Sonogo is not his position. It's not Gobelic's position either. And it was just really kind of a makeshift lineup. But I will say, Falco scored in that game. He looked threatening at times, and we need more of that from him. This is kind of a make or break season for him. If he doesn't do well, I fully expect Red Star to sell him either in January or, worst case scenario in the summer. But with that being said, look, if Ivanic or Katai are sold in the summer, maybe they keep Falco and they kind of give him one last real push, and then they make a decision in the winter of 2023, I guess it would be. As to what they do with him going forward. But that striker position right now, and it's crazy because 4 or 5 seasons ago, we got so many goals from Boachi and Persic, more than we could have wished for, and now it's kind of like the biggest concern. And my biggest concern is if Red Star does go down in one of these Europa League matches, I can kind of depend on Katai, but you really need that center forward to be good for you. And Pavkov has been, when he's played, he's been really good this season. So that's one guy he's been written off like 3 or 4 times, and he's come back stronger and stronger every time we've put him back in the lineup. And I love him. The 2 goals against Liverpool, he's going to be a club legend almost forever now. So he's someone I can really depend on. And I know, he's a center forward. If I can just whip in the ball there with his height, he can either bring it down as he did for that Congo goal, or he can be threatening with headers as well on net. I would say that's his best attribute. And obviously off corner kicks and free kicks, set pieces, where he can be dangerous as well. And he actually has a really good shot for a player that's kind of bigger in stature, and he's still very young. He's like 26 or 27. Feels like he's been around forever. But he's a player that, you could kind of depend on for now. But when and if the goals dry up for him as well, like, you're going to need another option. And we do have a gentleman from Molde, I forget his name now, who's scoring in almost a goal every 2 matches coming in January. And I think he's going to be a real goal getter for us, kind of in what Boachi and Pesic were for us. So I can't wait for that. January obviously can't come fast enough for us, but I'm very pleased with, how the team has done in Europa League. I thought, after we got bounced from Sheriff, thought to myself, man, this might be really hard for the guys to kind of get over, just because we haven't been just not used to losing, I guess, in the qualifiers. And I know even last season we lost to, I think, Omonia from Cyprus, but that was like a one match. It wasn't home and away because of, again, the coronavirus. So it was just kind of one away match, and we lost on penalty kicks. So there's only, I think, so much you could take from that. But I've been very pleased with every aspect of the team except for the center forward position. Like I said, it's great that you have a bunch of guys who are hardworking, who hustle, who can hold up the play. But at the end of the day, you need someone who's going to be able to score goals for you. And right now, I don't think we really have that. Like I said, Živković hasn't played enough for me to kind of write him off. But the question with him is also, what's his primary position? Is he going to be used more as a winger or more as a center forward? I can see if we're struggling for goals, where we might try him at the center forward position. And then, if we have injuries, God forbid, then you can kind of use him on the wing as well. Or if someone like Pavkov is clicking, you have Pavkov as the striker, and then you have, Živković on the wing, because he really has speed to burn. And his closing down of defenders and opposing goalkeepers is really good. Like, his work ethic in that final third is excellent. And like I said, I've said that about the other strikers as well, but his is really good. And especially that match against Braga, I think he forced their goalkeeper, Mateos, I believe his name was, to kind of have some misclearances, just kind of out to touchline for like a Red Star throw-in and things like that, just because he's uncomfortable with, Živkovic's pace and his ability to get up there. But like I said, he's going to need minutes as well. He's going to need some time on the pitch, but I mean, he's being paid a lot of money. So I think when the time comes, we're going to I think that we should force him into the lineup. He's making a lot of money. Like, he's making over, I think, 600K a year or something like that, which for Serbian standards is a lot. So if we have to throw him into the fire, that's exactly what we should do. And to kind of see what we have, because these are huge matches, especially Europa League, where, I'm expecting us to get past the group. And even before the group, I said that, we should be competing to get through. I mean, it's stupid saying we should. We really have to get through the group stage based on, us last year pushing AC Milan to almost the brink, and really giving them a test. So I think, and Pavko scored in that match as well. So there's another big game that he scored in. It was the first leg in Belgrade. So we kind of need all hands on deck here. I've been thoroughly impressed with the defensive midfielders as well. I think Petar Stanic is going to be a very good player for the future, and that could start this season. I want to see more of him. He did get injured against Ludogorets, but I don't think it was that big of a knock. So it wouldn't be, too bad to kind of see more of him as well. So yeah, this episode, I just want to kind of take some time to talk about that, because I haven't really covered Red Star in my podcast for a while. I do the YouTube stuff, like I said, match previews and then the recaps. And for the time being, I'm going to continue doing that. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys go to my YouTube page, watch some of my videos, and I'll talk to you again sometime later.